So it's a great time to be a One Punch Man fan right now. And yeah, I know the fallout of season 2 hasn't been so great, but the OVAs have been pretty solid. Specifically, the newest OVA that has just been released, the fourth one that came out with I guess the fourth Blu-ray that just came out in Japan. It's because we got Garou versus Suiryu just straight up in this OVA, and it was amazing. Also, another little bonus of information that we're getting here is that one did in fact write this OVA, or maybe all of the OVAs for season 2, or maybe all of the OVAs in general. I was never really able to find confirmation on that stuff, but this for sure, I think that he's confirming it, because in one of his latest tweets, he says that based off of the Google translation, of course, that he made the plot for this OVA, because he's talking about the one that just came out. So I guess that also means that he wrote it, I suppose, which means that everything that we see in this OVA is coming from one. So I guess it's canon, more or less. So let's go over the plot real quick. So there's this big fighting game tournament being held called Wild Animals, and apparently it can be played via VR, which replicates somebody's movements, or it can be played on a controller, and it can be played all throughout the world, as they say. So like, you don't have to be all in the same location for this to go down. And we see Saitama enter because he's enticed by the 5 million yen prize, which is like, I don't know, like around $5,000 or something like that. And as soon as he goes into the tournament, he thinks that he's going to win because he's assuming that it's replicating your actual power in reality. But we'll find out that that is not the case at all. It kind of just replicates your movements. And that's important because we're going to be talking about that when we go into the big fight of the episode. But he immediately is destroyed by a character that we'll find out is being used by King. It's kind of like part of the course for King because he's using like a koala girl who's scantily clad, and he kind of like does the same thing when he goes against Saitama later on in season 2, using like that girl in the bunny costume. So that's just King's style, you know, that he's kind of like I don't know, like lewd-ish with his decisions in games and stuff, because we know that he was playing like the Doki Doki Sisters game also. So that just fits into King's style. But also, you know, he just destroys Saitama because it's King. He's the best at video games. He's just the best in general. And then we come to the most interesting portion of this OVA. And I really think that this is the reason why the OVA was made in the first place, just to get these two characters to go against each other, because unfortunately it doesn't happen actually in the story. That is Garou and Suiryu. So Garou is randomly playing this game at his own location. And I really like that his avatar is a wolf, because, you know, like Garou, wolf. And then we see Suiryu, who's also playing, and he has two girls with him, because that's like his style too. And his avatar is, of course, the dragon, because I think Suiryu means either sky dragon or water dragon, one of those. I'm sure somebody will tell me in the comments. But also, like, his avatar kind of fights the same way that he does, like arms crossed, just using kicks when he's like going against somebody who he doesn't really have to try too much against. And as you would guess, Garou and Suiryu, considering that, you know, the game replicates your movements and stuff, they excel in this game, and they all like move through the tournament pretty quickly. And judging from the brackets, it looks like they all came down to like the final 4. It was like Suiryu, Garou, King, and then just some other random person. And then we finally come to Garou versus Suiryu. And like I said, this did not disappoint. Another cool little bonus to this sequence is we're getting commentary from Genos and Saitama, like, as they're observing it. And it just adds more fun to it, because it's like, you know, they don't know that they're watching Garou and Suiryu go at it, but we do. And it's just, I don't know, it just makes it so much better, because, like, you know, Saitama's like, when Garou starts getting like barraged by Suiryu, it's like, no, Wolf is just measuring him up, which is true, of course, because that's Garou's style. And then when Garou starts to use the water stream on Suiryu, then Genos, rightfully so, is able to pick it up, because he's seen Silverfang use this many times, you know, up close. And he's like, wait, is that he's using the water stream? Is that Silverfang using that? And then Saitama's like, no, he's an old man. He would never play a video game. Plus, he's not hunched over. And then he's like, well, then how do you explain what we're seeing here? But now let's get into the fight itself, because I'm so satisfied with this. This is my favorite fight of season 2. And, you know, Garou versus the heroes and all of that other stuff is great, but this is just, I don't know. It's just so satisfying finally seeing this. And honestly, the fight turned out more or less how I expected it to. If you would like a super in-depth look at what I think would happen in a real fight between Garou and Suiryu, please check out my video, Garou versus Suiryu. But as for this fight, just also we have to remember that this is obviously not an accurate representation of the actual fight that is happening between them, because like we established in the beginning, the VR system only really accounts for like their movements and stuff. They're not like feeling each other's power and stuff like that, and obviously they're not going all out because they can only do so much with this VR. But it is, I don't know, kind of representative of what could happen in a fight between them, because we see that it's pretty competitive. And I really do think we see one's influence in this sequence, because it's very faithful to both of their styles, because we see Suiryu being like really aggressive right off the bat, a kick heavy style, and like Saitama says, Wolf Garou is just measuring him up, which is what Garou does, because the water stream is like a defensive maneuver rather than just being offensive, as we've seen multiple times for both Silverfang and him. And eventually it gets to the point of where Garou does start, to pick up on what Suiryu's doing, and he's countering him with the water stream effectively. Like that one awesome sequence where he's like countering his strikes using like the stream, similar to what we've seen of like Silverfang do before. And then he counters him with like that uppercut, and he catches Suiryu. Now, it goes back to him not necessarily being able to feel it, but it does get, a reaction out of him. And then I like that Suiryu is able to come back with a counter kick of his own, and he catches Garou behind the head. So it's not just like, okay, Garou's getting the better of Suiryu all in all, but he is getting his counter shots on Garou too, which I do think would happen. Like, this fight wouldn't be a wash for either side. And just remember that we're talking about Hero Hunter Garou here. And as far as we know, the full potential of Suiryu, because it would be super competitive. And then we go into the third act of the fight, when the perspective changes, and we just see them just straight up going at it as if it was like choreographed in a movie. And it just looks so good. Like, this goes back into why I think this is probably the best fight of season 2, because this sequence right here, aside from everything we've seen before, like, this is just so fluid. And the moments like when they're connecting and then they stop and then they're just standing and then they kind of walk parallel to each other. Oh my god, I love that moment so much. But then unfortunately the game crashes and Suiryu winds up winning because, Garou's character couldn't defend himself. And I expected something like this to happen. I really didn't see there was going to be like any finality to this fight, because it's just not the time and place for that to happen. Like in an OVA, I didn't expect her to be like, okay, Garou is definitively better than Suiryu, or vice versa. I'm just really appreciative that we just got this at all. But let's go a little deeper into it. And I'm really not trying to be too biased in this, because I love Garou, but I'm thinking that this might prove that he's probably stronger than Suiryu. Because, the guy says, like, the speed of your movements caused a system overload. Now, that didn't happen to Suiryu, just kind of happened to Garou. So, I guess that means, I don't know, at the minimum, he's faster than him, maybe? Maybe not physically stronger, because I think that, judging from their feats, Suiryu is probably, like, the stronger individual from a physical aspect. But overall, I think Garou is probably better. And I don't know, judging from this fight, it seemed like Garou is probably eventually going to get the better of him, considering that he has like that analyzing ability that Suiryu kind of has, but not to the extent that Garou, or we'll just say like the martial art genius ability. But yeah, like I said, just go check out my Garou versus Suiryu video, because I break it down much better than here. And then we come to the end of the episode, and it's King versus Suiryu, and as you expected, he just annihilates Suiryu. I guess this is kind of like one's way of showing us what would happen if King fought Suiryu, and it's, this is what we expected would happen. And I just love how Suiryu reacts to it, because it just fits in with how people just react to King in general. It's like, the player is a martial artist, far superior to me. There's no way that they could do that even with a controller. I don't know. It's just perfect. One is just so good at writing King. I can't get over it. Every time I just think that he's reached like the apex of his writing with this character. He just keeps going further and further, and I love it so much. Like King's just power, of course, even comes through games, as we've seen, numerous times throughout the series. And I really like the ending when he's like, oh, I guess I was just too powerful. And also, if we go back to like earlier, Genos is like, wait, he defeated Saitama. That would mean that there's another individual out there just as powerful as Saitama. And, you know, it goes into like a lot of the rhetoric I spit on this channel. But yeah, fantastic OVA, perfect ending.
everything about this, I think this is like a 10 out of 10 maybe. As far as like, you know, just 10-minute or 12-minute OVAs could go, this is close to like a perfect score for me. I just enjoyed this so much. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Let me know what you thought about this. Who do you think would win between Garou and Suiryu if they actually fought? Who do you think won this little encounter that they had? But if you liked the video, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. It gives you access to a weekly Q&A. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next